Thank you very much for that very warm Northern Irish welcome. And can I say what a pleasure it is to be here this Saturday morning. Of course, if I wasn't here, I'd be at home answering questions from my 4.5-year-old Nancy. And the other day she asked some very good questions. We had the deputy editor of the Times there, and she said to him, "What do you do?" And he said, "I write the newspapers." And she said to him, "My daddy reads the newspapers for a living." And as if that wasn't bad enough and humiliating enough for her father, she added, "And sometimes, when I'm watching cartoons on the telly, he turns over and watches himself instead." But I am proud to be here today. Not many of you may know this, but today is my 3rd birthday. I know I'm absurdly young, but what I mean by that is today is the 3rd anniversary for me of being elected leader of the Conservative Party. And I can't think of a better thing to do on that 3rd anniversary than to take the Conservative Party forward by forming, with the Ulster Unionists, this new dynamic political and electoral force. A new force to cement Northern Ireland's position as a peaceful, prosperous and confident part of the United Kingdom. And I want to talk to you today about the future that we are going to build together. But before I do, I think I need to answer a very simple question. Why am I here? Why do I want us to take this radical step? Why has my team been working so hard to help make this happen? Put simply, why is this new force so important to me and to my party? These are good questions. There are some who wonder why we want to tie our parties together. For those who see politics and all it can achieve through the prism of dry electoral data, it might seem a waste of time. After all, we've only got a small presence in Northern Ireland. Why not focus instead on building our base in England? Well, today I want to tell you why I utterly reject this view and the whole notion of no-go areas for the Conservative Party, and explain why I believe that Conservatives and Unionists are better together than apart. And to me, it comes down to 3 things: a deep commitment to the Union, a strong belief in democracy, and a great respect for the Ulster Unionist Party. Let me take each of those in turn. First, the Union. I have never been a little Englander. I passionately believe in the Union and the future of the whole of the United Kingdom. We're better off together, England, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland, because we bring our strengths to the mix. When I fly into Belfast and see the great cranes of Harland and Wolff shipyard, I'm reminded of what an incredible part Northern Ireland played in our past. When I'm walking through the glens of Antrim, I'm moved by some of the most beautiful countryside there is in the whole of the United Kingdom. When I visit one of Northern Ireland's thriving social enterprises, now employing over 30,000 people, I know that the ideas, the energy, the enthusiasm of these entrepreneurs will help us build a better Britain for the future. It's a union built around shared belonging, a shared past, and a shared destiny. And standing up for the union isn't just about expressing important feelings about our heritage. It's also a rational argument based on mutual interests. Together, we're the 5th largest economy in the world. Together, we've got a seat at the top table and we're listened to in a way that other countries can only dream of. Together, we have one of only 5 permanent seats on the United Nations Security Council. Together, we're a major player in the European Union, in NATO, in other organizations. And together, we have the British military, one of the most respected armed forces in the world. Now, Northern Ireland punches above its weight in Britain's armed forces, and Britain punches above its weight in the world because of the expertise and bravery of those forces. Indeed, nothing embodies the Union better than those military bonds. Last century, when we stood alone against a deadly threat and we stood alone and all held dear, we stood alone together. The servicemen of our islands fought together in every single theatre of the Second World War. And they were led from the front by a strikingly high number of senior British officers with roots in Northern Ireland. Sir John Dill, Sir Alan Brooke, Sir Harold Alexander, Bernard Montgomery. As Churchill affirmed, the bonds of affection between Great Britain and the people of Northern Ireland have been tempered by fire. That is not some rhetoric belonging to the past. A few weeks ago, you welcomed home to this city the brave men and women of the Royal Irish Regiment. All of them heroes, risking their lives thousands of miles away to protect our security at home. I met them too in Sangin up the Helmand River Valley in Afghanistan and was so proud of what they do. We rightly salute them for their courage and their professionalism, as we do those who over 30 long years paid the ultimate price to protect democracy and the rule of law right here in Northern Ireland. We owe them an immense debt of gratitude, not just here, but throughout the United Kingdom, and we'll never forget. The first Member of Parliament who ever represented me was Éire Niamh, one of the first politicians I ever wrote a speech for, and one of the kindest people I ever met was Ian Gow. Both men were great Conservatives, and they were great Unionists. Both died because of their devotion to the Union. And I suspect there isn't a single person in this room who hasn't been affected in some way by terrorism. Now, of course, Northern Ireland bears most of the scars from those days. But when I think of Éire Niamh and Ian Gow, or the likes of Tim Parry and Jonathan Ball in Warrington, I'm reminded that the fight against terrorism wasn't just your fight, it was the fight of Unionists and Democrats everywhere. We're all in it together, and we came through it together. So for me, coming here and joining our parties is not some matter of political calculation. It's about strengthening those unbreakable bonds that bind our union. And I'm also here as a strong believer in democracy, with the desire to see that deepen across our islands. For as long as anyone can remember, politics here has been dominated by constitutional issues, the union or the latest developments in the peace process. Now, many people have been put off from participating in a politics based on division. Others still haven't bothered to vote. But the constitutional certainty that Northern Ireland now enjoys, I believe, opens the opportunity for that to change and for more normal politics to develop. Normal politics in which people in Northern Ireland can participate at all levels of government in the United Kingdom, from the council chamber right the way up to the cabinet table itself. Now, I support devolution, and I want to see the Stormont executives succeed. In Reg MP and Michael McGimpsey, you have two outstanding ministers. Together, you control nearly 60% of the Assembly budget. It is in good hands, but people in Northern Ireland need to be involved in decisions about their lives that are not devolved. Taxation, public expenditure, pensions, the whole thrust of social policy, the defence of our realm, foreign affairs. As things stand, Northern Ireland MPs are effectively excluded from exerting a real interest on any of these matters. That is not true representative democracy, and in my view, it has got to change. And that's not in the interests just of Northern Ireland, it's in the interests of the United Kingdom. And you know what? It's in my own selfish and strategic interests too.